You are live. Well, at least that's what the computer tells me. We'll give it a minute or so before I get started, just so people can log in, or at least until Rob gets online. So, did you watch the show? This is an episode review for Kayshawn. What is it called? Don't believe everything you read. Oh, hey Rob. So anyway, so this is the second episode of the second season of Lower Decks. So it was a fun episode. Rob and I have actually chatted about it a little bit off of this earlier, after I watched it and after he watched it, probably the second time. Anyway, so we open up, there's actually two storylines, but it opens up where they are, the Torito has been assigned to help out a collector, basically kind of go through, how does she put it? Mariner says, we're just cleaning out some dead dude's storage locker. I thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, so their task is to help another collector go through this dead collector stuff, so nobody, so he doesn't get vaporized, which I think is also a reference to the Most Toys, which was a collector episode from The Next Generation. So anyway, so they're dealing with that, and it switches from that storyline off to Boimler on the on the Titan with Riker. And so we've got two different storylines going on. So today we're just going to kind of stick with one storyline, and we'll get to the next one. So they go, and as the captain is giving her captain's log, it kind of gives like this little scene. And of course, you know, the second and third time I watched it, I'm like pausing to write down all the little things that I see in the background. So I have a list going here. And so you've got Mariner, you've got and I gotta get these characters' names down. Hold on, let me see. Let's see. So we got, oh shoot, that isn't what I was looking for. Anyway, so you've got four of the main characters. You've got the Orion girl. I can't remember what her name is. Maybe it's on here. You've got Rutherford. You've got, I think her name starts with a T. Anyway, I don't know. I'm kind of scatterbrained. So many things. And oh yeah. So there are, anyway, so they go and they're helping this guy, and they're kind of, they kind of go through stuff. And then of course an alarm gets tripped, and the hologram of the dead dude kind of comes away from the wall, and he's like, you know, I'm going to make you part of my collection. Now, the title of this episode actually refers to a Temerian, and we met the Temerians back in what was season 5 of The Next Generation in the episode Darmok, and they're the ones who were kind of spoke in terms of story. So of course I can't remember some of the things that they said, but anyway, so this guy, he's the first one. Tindy. Yes. Tindy is the Orion. So, so he actually admits that, you know, he's still learning Federation Basic, and that what is it? Federation Basic, and that the Universal Translator doesn't pick up the way he talks very well. So you kind of get some English and some regular stuff there. So, so this thing comes away from the wall, and ends up turning him into a puppet. And I just thought that was, I thought that was kind of cute. And then of course they escape, and there's this new guy, and I heard his name Jet. And I think we met him last season. I can't remember, but he came to Beta Crew, and I completely skipped over the opening scene. They go into the Sonic showers, and I thought that the Sonic covering up all the adult parts was kind of an interesting thing. But anyway, so he's part of this. So you got the 4 helping out this other collector. And so Jet and Mariner are kind of arguing of, she thinks that he's trying to one up her, and, she thinks she's in charge, and well, she kind of is sometimes. And so finally the collector and the other 2, Rutherford and Tendi, they're like, no, we kind of want to go with Jet's plan because it's the safer plan. They're going to escape out of escape from some, the plan is to escape from the place where, from the ship back to, let's see, very well done, and answered what a Sonic shower looks like in Lower Decks. Yes, I would agree. So anyway, on their basically their goal is to get to the escape pods, and they eventually do. But on the way, we see all of these Easter eggs from different things. So in the main room, this is what I kind of caught, and I don't know, you can agree with me or not agree with me. You can put the comments in below what you got out of this. So the treasures, the collector items, instantly right out of the bat, I saw a salt monster, and that's from the original series Man Trap. I saw Khan's necklace from Wrath of Khan. In the background, there's a lot of different paintings on the wall, but I saw a Mirror Universe flag, which I thought was kind of cool. There's the VR headset from the Next Generation, the game, that little thing where they kind of put it, and it kind of shoots them and gives them a dopamine thing. I don't know. Yeah, we'll get to that episode when we actually watch it. But there was one of those. There was a white unicorn, kind of like standing up and on its hind legs, like normally you would get a horse thing. So not exactly sure what that was supposed to represent, but to me, that screamed Blade Runner all the way, the white unicorn. So there's a trombone in the background, Riker, and underneath the trombone, there's like a Starfleet symbol and then a pair of boots. Now, in my notes, I wrote down Meg boots as a Star Trek VI reference. But Rob, he messages me and he's like, hey, do you think those were Marty McFly's boots? And I was like, oh, okay. That's actually kind of cool. I would buy that. I would buy that they would be Marty McFly's boots, Of course, on the wall, you've got some Klingon weapons, a Batleth, a Metleth. You've got, I can't remember the name of the weapon, but you've got the Vulcan tool that they used in Amok Time and other Vulcan stuff. You've got what looks like one of the Mars rovers in there. You've got a stand-up arcade game. There was a shark inside a display case. Not sure. I don't know if I'm reading too much into this. Not sure what that really meant, but it was there. Let's see. I noticed. Okay. So I don't know the name of the game. I know we saw it as like kind of a board game played in 10 Forward. Or maybe it was something else kind of in another show, but it, kind of an octagon shape, and there was, and then they, what is it? It had different color cubes, almost kind of like Connect 4, but octagon. I don't know. They didn't jump the shark. No, they didn't. Actually, that would have been kind of cool if they had jumped over that display. That would have been a cute thing. Let's see. Oh, so there was a box, a silver box with somebody's face, like a face in it, and I can't remember which episode it was. I think it was a Next Generation episode, but it was like anyway, the box had a face, and you open it, and I don't know. I noticed that. Let's see. Caddis Dot from Voyager. Is that the game that you were thinking, or that is that what it is? Is that that's what you're answering to, Rob? Let's see. Oh, when they now, of course, they have this. They had a photon tube. They had a photon tube. Initially, I thought Star Trek Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, but it could have just been because they were basically there to collect ordnance and other stuff that would blow people up. But on that same pallet that they were stacking stuff on, I saw a couple of cases of Chateau Picard wine, or I don't know. Not necessarily wine, but what's the other stuff? The bubbly stuff. I don't know. Anyway, I noticed a scanner type tool from the Next Generation, and Tindy was holding that while she was kind of looking at stuff. Right before the big painting of the dead dude comes alive in hologram form, there's a purple sphere. And so I'm thinking that that's a callback to the Next Generation, or the original series Devil in the Dark episode where they dealt with the Horta, that was a Horta egg. And then, of course, we can't forget Kahless's fornication helmet. and what does she say? It's Tindy that reads it, and she's like, "Oh, well, at least he's being safe." I thought that was just really hilarious. Okay, so there's three things hanging from the ceiling. One of them has a red women's uniform from the original series. I'm guessing that's a callback to Uhura. And then the other one I really couldn't make out, but there was another one where it was like a blue jelly glob with three eyes. I have no idea. I'm at a loss for what that meant. So if you know what that means, let me know. Comments below. So as they go into these different rooms, they actually enter a room that has a bunch of skeletons, or like dinosaur skeletons, all that kind of stuff. And then the camera kind of pans up, and you see this huge human-like skeleton in a ripped up blue uniform and black pants from the original series. And I was kind of at a loss of what that might be. I had to actually do a little bit of research on that. Rob had messaged me, and he goes, he mentioned something about him having a feverish dream about a giant Spock at one point. And so, yes, there was it was a clone of Spock from the animated series. I don't have a ton of information on it. I just looked it up, and that's what it was. It was the episode. The Infinite Vulcan is the episode that it was in. So, okay. So then, Mariner does something. There's these little flying, robot vacuums. She pisses it off, and then all of them turn on them. And so they go into this display in the wall and cover themselves up with the bones of the skeletons. And it just happens to be a scene from the Savage Curtain, where Abe Lincoln and that Excalibur, maybe that's it, Excalibur. Anyway, that's from the episode Savage Curtain. And then, of course, you still have this like I mentioned earlier, you still have this kind of headbutting between Jet and Mariner. And then finally in this thing, they're like, well, how did we get here? And they're both saying, oh no, it was my fault because of this. And no, it's my fault because of that. And then they turn to Tindy and Rutherford, and we're like, okay, well, how'd we get here? It's like, oh, because you guys are in charge. It's like, hey, well, wait a minute. What about you? Do you guys have any input? And so they actually use the Excelibin bones to cut through the wall and then get into a Jeffries tube so they can get an escape. Now, going off to our nice episode, or the other plot line going on with the Titan and Brad. So they're fighting the and I didn't write it down because I thought I would remember what their name was, but I completely forgot. Let's see. Did I write it down? The Packlids. That's right. Okay. So they're fighting the Packlids, and the Packlids are getting the Packlids have attacked this mining station for this one element that's very volatile. And so Boimler and 3 of the crew from the Titan fly down to the planet and try and help him out. And they end up basically kind of stuck in this cavern. And the one thing about Boimler is that he's especially in the shuttle there, they talk about, how he's he didn't join Starfleet to, have space battles and he really liked serving under Riker, and talks a bunch about, the Enterprise D, and they just refer to it as D. So it's kind of funny how, and he's like, oh, and they did this and they did this, and they're like, and they what is it? And they insurrected, which I thought that was funny. That's for you people who don't get that joke. That's reference to the movie Insurrection, which really wasn't that bad, but it was a bad movie. So didn't do well at the box office. So anyway, they end up in this cavern, and the talk of I didn't join to do this. I really joined to explore and all that kind of stuff. And then the other 3 are like, well, yeah, I joined because I wanted to study Moss. And this one guy's like, I joined because I wanted to beam. Okay. But I think that was a great callback to how Star Trek was. Star Trek is about exploring, to boldly go, to, it's not going out to have a battle with every single life form out there. It's really the human race and other races kind of going out into space, making friends, and exploring where no one's been before. And I think recently, and not really to knock J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, the Kelvin verse, but it really got into, we're just going to battle everything. And it's not really about exploration. So I thought that was kind of at least that's what I got out of the conversation. But that was a nice callback. And then all of a sudden Boimler's like, hey, wait a minute. Cause he had mentioned the, Riker having a twin because of this, and that the elements were kind of all the same. And so he sets it up, and the other 3 beam back, and Boimler's stuck. So they end up beaming him back, but they actually, spoilers, beam back his clone first, and then he actually comes on a ship. So at the end of the episode, there ends up being 2 Boimlers. Now, of course, Riker is saying, okay, I can't have 2 of you on board. So one of you's got to go back to the other ship, but goes down to an ensign, and they all, the 2 Boimlers kind of look at each other and they're like, oh, okay. And then the real Boimler steps forward, and then he gets mad because he's like, he's telling his twins, well, I thought that you were going to do it. So I thought that was kind of funny. So Boimler ends up going back to his original ship with his friends, and they have a nice kind of gathering at the end of that. But he's still got crap because, well, he left them. So apparently he has to buy drinks. Now, one of the things that I noticed in Riker's ready room is, and I think this is a callback to the Stargazer in Picard's ready room. And if I'm not mistaken, it was actually not the Stargazer, but the ship that was in Riker's thing was gold, just like the gold Enterprises in the conference room. This was the Oberth class, and I think because of the Pegasus, which was the very first ship that Riker served on. So I think that at least that's what I'm getting to it. And then right next to it was a Civil War, what is it? A Civil War hat, which I don't know if this is a connection to the episode Hide and Q, where they kind of had a little Civil War battle, and that's where Q tried to get Riker to become Q. So I don't know if that was like a little egg there. So I don't know. Let's see. Rob is saying, showed that while both ideologies exist, it established the original intent of Trek while also recognizing the addiction to adrenaline from the fighting and how easy it is to lose your way. Yes, I absolutely agree. Some of the things that I liked about this episode was, or just some of the things that they were doing with the characters. So like, let's go back. If we go back to the beginning, there was a comment, and I actually wrote it down because it was funny. When the captain is talking about, she's talking to her first officer, and I gotta have a list of names next to me. I can't anyway. So they're talking about that, and he's like, wasn't he the one that tried to collect data? And this, I think, is really connected to the Most Toys, because that's where one of the collectors had stolen data. And Captain says, they all tried to collect data. Now, I don't remember the Bird character. Maybe kind of in season 1. But that character, and of course, I don't know the name at all. It says, why couldn't he or she or whatever the character is, says, why couldn't they leave data, or why couldn't they just leave data alone? All he wanted was to feel. And the way the character said it just made me laugh, because you had, because if that character is sitting in the chair to the left of the captain, which is generally for the counselor. So I don't know if that's a tease on Deanna Troy's character about how she was all like warm and fuzzy sometimes. And, generally social workers are supposed to be that way, or counselors are supposed to be that way. So I thought that was humorous. There was, Riker says, attack pattern Delta, which is a callback to Empire Strikes Back. Don't know if that has been actually mentioned elsewhere in Star Trek. Rob and I had a little conversation about that earlier. Possibly it has, but definitely a call to, I did a little search on the internet. The only reference I could find was to Empire. So nothing to anything other Star Trek. I like the way that they were playing, because we only got a little bit of Riker what is it? We only got a little bit of Riker in last episode, and even just a little bit of Riker in last season. So the way that he kept on putting his leg up, like he always does, I like the way that they played on that character trait. I like the interaction between Jet and and Mariner, and basically him calling her out on her crap. And so in a way we got a little bit of growth there. We'll see how that goes through the season. What else do I have noted down? Let's see. Oh, so I wanted to get this. So I wrote down, I was trying to figure out when does this take place? For me, it was it doesn't, in the promotions of the show, it was never really like, hey, it takes place on this day. So it opens up, and I know that other shows opened up, but this was really the first time I truly thought about it. So they open up with Stardate 58001.2. So I did a little bit of research for the past dates. Now, not every episode shows a star date, but the episodes do show a progression, just like they did in the Next Generation. So 58001 is roughly about a year and a half ish, maybe 2 years after Nemesis. And Nemesis is when Riker goes off to be captain of the Titan. So that's kind of where we're sitting timeline wise. So if they follow Next Generation rules, when it comes to star dates, then the 001.2 is going to progress through the season, and the number will get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, there's a bunch of different Stardate calculators out there. Nothing like one that I set up, that I created. I found one online today that it goes along with the Stardate Online Stardate, or Starfleet Online or Star Trek Online. I don't play that game, so I don't know. Anyway, so it didn't even come close. It was way, way off of what I think it would be. But me, in reading the rules for Stardate, because I didn't have time to pull it out today. I have a copy of a second season Next Generation script Bible, and in it talks about star dates, and the star dates are supposed to haphazardly go, but progress from smallest to larger, from 000.1 to 999.9 throughout the season. Now, years ago, and I actually created my own calculator and Stardate clock and all that kind of stuff back when I was a Microsoft person and I had Visual Basic, and I created a formula that basically takes that Stardate frame, the 000.1 or 0 to 999.9 in a calendar year. So basically 001.2 to me, based on my formula, is January. So this is happening in January, and it's supposed to happen. And this, of course, this is happening about 3 months, like we said in the last episode, about 3 months before or after episode 10 in season 1. There was no star date in season 1, but it roughly, the way the star dates progressed, it could easily be 3 months from episode 10 to episode 1 and episode 2 of season 2. So, but anyway, so I created that calendar. I created that thing. And one of my rules for canon for Star Trek is of course everything on TV is rule number 1. Number 2 on the list is movies, unless of course it counters something that was in the movies, stupidly. Like if it retcons something stupidly, like I always use the age of the Enterprise from Star Trek 3, because this Enterprise was not 20 years old when they bring it back to Starbase, yeah, in episode or in Star Trek 3. So that part little doesn't count. But the next part is basically books and material that are created by people who work for Star Trek. So like you would do like the technical manuals by Michael and Denise Okuda. That's Star Trek law. So getting back to my star date, this is how I proved it. So they give in the technical manual, they actually give a star date, christening date for the Enterprise D in star date form. And in another part of the book, they give a calendar date. Using my formula, I was off by like a day or less than a day. So it was like super close when it comes to, so for me, my calculations are real. So once I learn how to write in whatever Apple script is doing, I can't remember, Swift. Once I can figure out that language, I'll create an app. So, all right. So I think that's all. Oh, you know what? I can't believe this. I wanted to start this out, but I just kind of jumped in, So we have two Star Trek birthdays that we celebrate today. And I cannot believe I did not open this. The number one most important birthday of today is Gene Roddenberry's. Gene Roddenberry, the great bird of the galaxy, the creator of this universe that so many of us are like freaky about. He would be 100 years old today. So born August 19th, 1921. That's just, I can't believe I didn't open with that. And then of course, the other birthday celebrating today is Jonathan Frakes, Captain Riker, which I thought was interesting because, and I don't know if this was planned or anything like that, but of course you have an episode who has a lot of Riker in it on Jonathan Frakes' birthday. And then that also kind of brings up a whole nother thing where Jonathan Frakes has talked about in the past that he and Gene on set, like he would go into Gene's office and just talk for hours about the universe of Star Trek and about how Gene saw the future. And I'm curious if that bond was created because they shared the same birthday. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. Okay. So before I go, share one more thing. Let's see. Bird Guy was Mariner's therapist in Crisis Point from season 1. Thank you, Google. Okay. Thank you, Rob. I guess I'll have to look that up, or at least, I'll believe you. But anyway, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. So, until next week, until next Thursday, same time, same bat channel. There you go. Oh, and so if you haven't liked, shared, subscribed, all that really cool stuff, do so now. Comment below. Let me know what you think of the video, of the show. Come back and watch live. Right now, at least for the Lower Decks stuff, it's 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And of course, we have just a couple more weeks until we actually begin our year of Trek officially. So, but until then, we got Lower Decks, me blabbing for I don't know how long. Wow, it's been twice as long as the last one. So we'll see you next week, and live long and prosper.